Hello students, welcome to social science class 10th. Student, in last video we have discussed about the importance of tertiary sector. We have discussed 4 points of importance of tertiary sector. Now next question is, where are most of the people employed? So सबसे ज़्यादा लोग कहाँ employed हैं, इसके बारे में पढ़ेंगे हम. So student, let us see the graph. First graph is the contribution or share of different sectors in GDP. So student, we will see here is the share of GDP in percentage. Primary sector 40%, secondary sector very much less, tertiary sector very large in 73-74. Now the share in GDP decrease in agriculture sector, slightly increase in production sector, and dramatically increased in tertiary sector. Now let us see the next part, that is share of employment. So India is an agriculture country where most of the people are engaged in primary activities. So most of the people are employed in tertiary sector. So this is the graph of 77 to 78. This is a slight decrease in the employment in 17-18 in primary sector and increase in secondary and tertiary, but still there is a huge amount of workers are working in primary sector. So in this manner we can say primary sector is more employing the people as compared to other two. Why didn't the similar shift out the primary sector happen in case of employment? So employment cannot be altered, or we can say employment pattern could not be altered since independence to the present. What are the positive or what are the possible reasons? Because most of the people are illiterate and they are working in the fields and working with their families and employed in the fields. That is why we can say that most of the people are employed in primary sector. Though industrial output or the production of goods went up in more than 9 times during that period, employment in industry went up around 3 times. So production increased 9 times in industries, but the employment increased 3 times. What is the reason? The same applies the tertiary sector, as while production in the service sector rose 14 times, employment in service sector around 5 times. So what leads to the increase in production in secondary and tertiary sector? These are machineries, technical advancement, not the employed people. So employment increased slightly, but the production increased dramatically. You can say that production increased, but the employment does not increase in recent years, recent decades, you can say. As a result, more than half of the workers in the country are working in primary sector, mainly in agriculture. Production only about 1/6 of the GDP. So 1/6 of the GDP is produced in agriculture. So most of the people are employed in agriculture. In contrast to this, secondary and tertiary sector are producing rest of the produce, whereas the employ less half the people. Does it mean that the worker in agriculture are not producing as much as they could? So क्या इसका मतलब यह है कि जो एग्रीकल्चर करते हैं क्या वो प्रोडक्शन नहीं करते? असल में वो प्रोडक्शन करते हैं, लेकिन उनकी प्रोडक्शन जो है इट कैन नॉट मीट विद द प्रोडक्शन इन इंडस्ट्रीज. सो people are employed in agriculture as compared to secondary and tertiary sector. What it means is that there are more people in agriculture than necessary, as you have read in chapter class 9th in economic chapter, that is people are engaged in work more than required. That is unemployment, disused unemployment. You have studied about disused unemployment. Even if move a few people out, production will not affected. In other words, workers in the agricultural sector are underemployed, or we can say the disguised employed, where people can do more work but they are not doing much. It means they are underemployed. आप कुछ एग्जांपल्स लेते हैं, जैसे लक्ष्मी है, owning about 2 hectares of unirrigated land and dependent on the rain and growing crops like jawar, arhar. All 5 members of her family work in the plot throughout the year. Why? They have nowhere else to go for work. You will see that everyone is working, none remain idle, but in actual their labor efforts get divided. Each one is doing some work, but no one is fully engaged in the employment. So this is situation of the underemployment, where people are apparently working but for them are made for work less than their potential. This is called underemployment. So student, you can note down what is underemployment. When people are engaged in working less than their potential, this is called underemployment. A kind of underemployment is hidden in the contrast to someone who does not have a job and is clearly visible as unemployed. Hence it is also called disguised unemployment. So we can call it disguised unemployment when people are engaged in a work less than that of potential, or we can say when people are more available than required. That is called disguised unemployment. Now suppose a landlord, Sukhram, comes and hire 1 or 2 members of the family to work on his land. Lakshmi's family is now able to earn some extra income through wages. Since you do not need 5 people to look after that small plot, 2 people moving out does not affect production on their farms. In the above example, 2 people may move to work in factory. Once again the earning of family would increase and they would also continue to produce as much from their land. So स्टूडेंट लक्ष्मी के बच्चों को या उनके जो फैमिली मेंबर्स हैं उनमें से 2 मेंबर्स को सुखराम ले गया कहीं काम करने के लिए. अभी भी जो काम है वो वहाँ पर उसके जो छोटे से प्लॉट पर वैसे ही चल रहा है. इसका मतलब अगर उनमें से 5 मेंबर काम कर रहे थे, उनमें से 2 निकाल दिए तो प्रोडक्शन के ऊपर कोई असर नहीं पड़ता. मतलब जो 2 लोग निकाले गए हैं वो कौन से हैं? डिस्क्यूज्ड अनएम्प्लॉयड. There are lakhs of farmers like Lakshmi in this India. In this mean that even if we remove a lot of people from agriculture sector and provide them with the proper work elsewhere, agriculture production will not suffer. The income of the people who take up other work would increase the total family income. So in this manner, if we remove the workers from the plot, or we can say agricultural land, then there is no change in the production, no decrease in the production, and the family income will increase. This underemployment can also happen in other sector. For example, there are thousands of casual workers in service sector in urban areas who search for daily employment. They are employed as painter, plumber, repair person and doing other odd jobs. These people who are working in the cities, they are also not working continuously. Many of them do not find work every day. Similarly, we see other people of the service sector on the street pushing a cart or selling something, where they may spend a whole day but earn very little. They are doing this work because they do not have better opportunities. So in service sector there is also unemployment. So disguised unemployment is everywhere in a country, in service sector also. So student, why should we worried about underemployment? So student, you can answer this question from above discussion, that why should we be worried about underemployment and how to create more employment. We will do this in next video. So prepare your notes and do this question from your last discussion. Thank you.